Hello and good afternoon everybody, and welcome back once again for another video of DIY investing. A couple weeks back I tweeted that I was going to be talking and giving you guys an update on Tezos. This is a coin that I have actually been accumulating a little bit of and I've been wanting to talk to you guys about and let you know that I have been doing so. Now you'll know that if you follow me on Twitter or if you follow me on Discord, you're going to know that I've been talking about this a little bit. But Tezos is a coin that I'm pretty excited about. I think it has a pretty strong fundamental use case for this next cycle, which bodes well for adoption and adoption cases. Tezos itself is a decentralized smart contracts platform similar to Ethereum. There are some key differences that makes me like Tezos for a couple different reasons than Ethereum. If you're new and just finding this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any more videos like the one provided for you here. If you're somebody that's looking for signals, whether you want entries, whether you want to follow my own personal trades, or even just share your own analysis inside of a community, make sure you hit the invitation link in the description of this video, and there you're gonna get access to my Discord server. We're just shy of 200 members inside of there, so help me get to my goal of 200. I think we only need about 18 more members in there. So I look forward to seeing you guys. All right guys, with all that being said, let's jump right in the video today. So to start off this video today, we are going to be taking a look at Tezos on Bitcoin, and then we're also going to be taking a look at the dollar pair so that you guys have a full understanding of my analysis with Tezos, some things that I'm expecting, and just my overall thoughts and perspective of the market. Now, for you guys that do not know what Tezos is, like I briefly mentioned at the intro of this video, Tezos is a platform for decentralized smart contracts, which is the same as Ethereum. Now, the big differences between Tezos and Ethereum is the fact that with Tezos, you can do staking. Now, with the Tezos blockchain is actually called baking. And that's where you stake your Tezos tokens, which I believe that they're called something different than Tezos, but your XTZ tokens nonetheless. You stake those, and Tezos blockchain itself has some of the best staking rewards out of all of the other staking projects. And so you can actually make a significant amount of return on investment just by staking what coins you've already purchased on the Tezos blockchain. Now, on top of that, one thing I really like about the Tezos blockchain compared to Ethereum is the fact that you do have somewhat of a form of governance inside of the blockchain. Now, there was a big problem with governance inside of Ethereum back in the early days, even though that came after the DAO hack where many thousands of Ethereum were lost. I think it was actually millions. I'm not exactly sure, but there was a significant amount of Ethereum tokens that were lost due to that hack. There was a bug or a loophole, and somehow the hacker got in and stole a significant portion of the Ethereum in supply. Now, what happened shortly after that was a hard fork of the Ethereum blockchain. ETC is technically the old version of Ethereum, and so if you guys have seen Ethereum Classic, that is actually the original version of Ethereum. Ethereum hard forked from that point. They both went their separate ways. Now, the problem with this, or what I should say, the reason why I like Tezos, is the fact that when you stake your coins, you actually have somewhat of a governance body. And what I mean by that is when you're staking your coins, you can actually vote on upgrades and whatever else the blockchain is looking to progress inside of its development. You actually have the ability to vote on those matters. And so your opinion really does matter with the governance and the staking, or what I should say, the baking with Tezos blockchain. And so I think that's a really big advancement with blockchain technology. How exactly are we going to keep these things decentralized while still allowing it so that the average person can vote on what happens in the development process behind these blockchains? Because that's something we saw with Ethereum. At the very start of Ethereum, we had that big problem where half of the group wanted to go a certain way, half of the group wanted to go another way, and so this created a hard fork. We saw the same thing with the Bitcoin community, with Bitcoin Cash, even Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, and Bitcoin Gold. You have all of these hard forks of the Bitcoin chain. That's because these governing bodies can't agree on one specific outcome. And so they change, groups go their own separate ways, and this creates a lot of divide. And really, it's only hurting the blockchain in which they were originally hard forking for. So in this case, it was Bitcoin. I don't see how Roger Ver's coin is going to be any sort of benefit to Bitcoin, because all it's doing is really taking from that initial market cap. In my opinion, Bitcoin Cash most likely isn't going to be used in the future. It might be used a little, but not compared to Bitcoin. So I do like the idea of Tezos for that reason. Now, the short summary, Tezos itself is a smart contract platform. when you stake your coins through the process that's called baking, you actually allow yourself to earn coins from the baking process, so you can earn more with however many you set down to stake at a time. But then also, if you're somebody that's staking, or I should say baking your coins, then you also have authority and governance of what happens with the development of this blockchain. So for that reason, I think that this is a little bit more of an upgraded version of Ethereum. Now, I'm not going to say that Tezos is going to flip Ethereum, because I honestly don't know. Ethereum's been around a little bit longer. The market cap follows Ethereum, so I would assume that's going to continue to play out. What I can say is Tezos itself has a lot of profit potential, and I do like the idea about this. I think that it's just a little bit more of a newer version of Ethereum, and so it would make sense that this one's going to perform well. We all remember what happened to Ethereum back in 2017, so that's why I'm really excited about this. Now, let's quit talking about Tezos and let's actually dive into the XTZ chart. Now, this one at first is going to be the Bitcoin pairing. Really volatile, but it does show some nice symmetry, and what I'm looking at right now is what appears to be the structure of a rounded bottom formation. Now, obviously, we can see the kind of trend that's starting to shift a little bit. We were still mainly downtrending there. Up here, we started and made our first higher high. And then from these points, we're even continuously trending higher. So we can see here, we were a downtrend, made our first higher highs here, broke out of these lows that we saw at about this move, and then we went back down to retest those lows. Now, the funny thing about these Bitcoin pairs and amongst the altcoins in general, oftentimes you're gonna see the fact that we had this support, we made a higher high, we broke out of these lows, only to come back down and make a new low and really shake everybody out. And so this is why Bitcoin pairs can be a lot more volatile and really a lot scarier when you're trading them. There's a lot more emotions involved if you don't know what you're doing because of the volatility that's in play. Remember, guys, these are altcoins traded against Bitcoin, two of the most volatile assets in the world, and so it would make sense that the charts themselves are going to behave similarly. So now what I'm seeing is we had this downtrend, and now it appears that we're working back in an established uptrend. Now, technically speaking, we have been uptrending for about over 100 days, 110 days we've been in this uptrend, so that's a pretty good sign overall. As of right now, we need to continue to see this uptrend hold for this to continue to be bullish, because at this point, we have technically regained support of this last low that we saw back here in December and January. But we're also at a point with Bitcoin where if Bitcoin decides to take another leg down, which I think has a high probability of doing so, if Bitcoins were to take a leg down, what is going to happen to the Bitcoin pairs? Now, up to this point, with Bitcoin dominance starting to top off, the Bitcoin pairs have actually held a lot of value, and it looks very bullish from that perspective. So I think that if we get a leg down in Bitcoin, we could very easily see these Bitcoin pairs continue to trend higher from that point. And so this is kind of what I'm watching out for Tezos. Now, I do like the fact that there is a significant amount of volume that's come in here. We can see that from basically the bottom of when we sold back down to this base trending support from the old cycle, we can see that that's where we got a nice intake of new volume. Even though it was a significant amount of sell volume, there was still way more volume coming in, both sell volume and buy volume in this time, than the entire last cycle. So in my opinion, even if you're seeing that inside of a bear market, oftentimes that tells you that there is new money entering this. Now, that's not always the case, but with a coin and project like Tezos, we had like a $232 million ICO back in 2017. So these are the coins that I think that will have that new money flooding into them, and that's something that we've seen. Now, even though we continue to sell off, we went into this descending triangle consolidation pattern before we made one more leg down, and then really from this point here is where we started seeing a new increase in volume. Really, there's a significant more amount of volume that's coming in here in this retrace and this accumulation in this rounded bottom than the entirety of the last cycle. So as you guys have known, and something of a rule that I've told you guys in times past, volume precedes price. Anytime you're seeing this long, slow, drawn out accumulation where you see a degree of trend slowly rounding out and getting more and more accumulated, what you want to see with that market structure is a new intake of volume, and that's exactly what we're seeing. So for me, I'm very bullish on Tezos on the Bitcoin. Now, if I'm watching this currently, I honestly don't think you can go wrong accumulating at these low levels. Now, with saying that, I'm not telling you guys to go out and buy. Everybody should have their own trading plan in place before they ever even think about taking the trade. And so I just want to point out the fact that as of right now, we're basically at the average of these two low points, these two bottoms here. So I think that that's a good bet that this could be a good time to be entering the market. Now, for me personally, what I'm watching for, basically right about here is where I started accumulating my Tezos, and from that point we've kind of just started trending up higher. Now the cool thing that I'm seeing currently is the fact that as of right now it looks like we're going to continue to trend up higher on support, but we could also drop back down. But I'm also seeing, since the Bitcoin dominance itself looks very ugly and has been topping out, I think that the Bitcoin dominance is headed for a significant drop. And when the Bitcoin dominance drops significantly, the Bitcoin pairs of the altcoins are going to rally. And so realistically speaking, from where we're at now, I think it's more likely that we're going to continue to trend higher. It is possible we could drop back down and retest this trend line one more time, but I'm not going to bet on that. I'm really not a huge trend line trader. They do have a purpose and you can work with them, but for the most part, I'm really not too worried about that. As of right now, I've already accumulated my Tezos. I will look to add more. I could potentially do that in the next couple days, maybe today, but I'm not necessarily looking at it as of right now. Now, for me personally, from where we're at now, I think the next realistic target's going to be the high of this resistance about right here, roughly a 25% move, and I think that that would be a realistic place in which we're going to watch to see where price is going to go from here. Now, from this point, this is going to be our next major resistance. If we can clear this resistance down here at about 13,000, almost 14,000 Satoshis. If we can clear that resistance and we get a confirmed support and resistance flip, then in my opinion, that's your go-to buy signal. If you're somebody that's waiting to mitigate risk to where you don't have to risk a whole lot, then I would wait for the support. Then I would wait for this resistance to break right down here. And with that resistance, I would aim to buy the retest of that as support, because more likely than not, this is what I'm going to be expecting to see. Because remember guys, the bull market doesn't start until we break out and make a higher high. Up to this point we haven't. We're continuously trending lower, making lower lows, and so as of right now this still has bearish structure, but I do like what I'm seeing up to this point. I pulled the trigger on some. I didn't really take a huge position, but I did pull the trigger because I felt like it was a good buying opportunity. So if you're somebody that's looking to enter Tezos by looking at the Bitcoin pair, I personally would wait for a breakout of this resistance here at about 14k sats and then buy the retest of that move. So this is what I'm watching out for Tezos on the Bitcoin pair. You guys know what I'm rocking with. Next up on the list is going to be Tezos on the dollar. Now Tezos on the dollar looks a little bit more symmetrical. I do like what I'm seeing currently. I like both charts, but the Tezos on the dollar does look a little bit more bullish. What we're currently seeing is we had this major descending resistance that held us for the length of this bear market. Now, with Bitcoin's rally up to 14k, we saw Tezos follow closely behind with it. Now, with that move, we have temporarily pierced outside of that descending resistance. It does appear that we have had a couple retests of that, and we are trending outside of that. So any trending outside of this descending resistance is bullish. Now, it is possible that we could see more downside, and I've talked about that, especially with the dollar pairs, guys. That's something I want to point out and stress to you, is the fact that I think that as of right now, with the Bitcoin dominance starting to top out and showing more and more bearish signs and weakness, I think that the dollar pairs themselves with these altcoins have a chance of continuing to go a little bit lower. Whereas the Bitcoin pairs, if the Bitcoin dominance and Bitcoin starts to drop a little lower, you can expect that the Bitcoin or the altcoin dominance, you can expect that the altcoins on the Bitcoin pairings are going to continue to perform well, because that's the way it's worked up to the last couple months. And so this is kind of what I'm watching out for. But overall, I mean, if we dive in here, let's take it back down to a normal time frame. Let's remove all drawing tools. Now, if we come in here, we're going to see that Bitcoin's recent dump, when Bitcoin broke through support of its descending triangle just recently, this was the move that it produced inside of Tezos, which would probably be about 15 to 20% roughly. But it's not as sizable as one would seem to believe in the wake of what happened with Bitcoin. Now, as of right now, we are trending technically at that support. It does look kind of bearish. This looks kind of like a bear flag. It does not have a lot of strength. We are getting a pretty significant amount of sell volume coming in here, much bigger than any buy volume, except for this initial pump back up here. But as of right now, it's looking a little bit more bearish. I think on the dollar, we are most likely going to come back down and retest this block, this order block that we're seeing, anywhere from about right there. And so that's kind of what I'm watching for, anywhere from about 76 cents down to about 67 cents or 66 cents. Right around that 10-cent ratio is where I would be watching for the potential bottom, because as of right now, it doesn't look extremely bullish in this consolidation. Looks more likely we need one more leg down before this cycle's over. And that's actually kind of what I'm watching out for Bitcoin anyways. I think that Bitcoin's most likely headed for one more leg back down, probably going to take us close to that $7,200 level, and could even go lower than that, but I'm not going to bet on that. You guys have already known that I've been rocking with a 30 to a 40% retrace, and we're already in the mid 40s, so I'm not really expecting it. But this is what I'm seeing with Tezos currently. That's where I would aim to buy if I was looking to enter this market. But overall, guys, I mean, if we look at the volume profile here, this initial leg up from these December lows has created a significant amount of volume. There is way more volume coming in at this little leg up than the entire cycle highs volume. Even with what happened down in here, it dwarfs all of that volume. Now, this pump right here, it doesn't mean a whole lot because this was mainly just a Coinbase listing. And so with Coinbase listing, we saw a pretty sizable increase in volume that came in at that time. Now, the same thing happened with ZRX, and pretty much most coins that get added to Coinbase, you see a pretty nice buy volume or a buyback that happens after it gets added to the exchange. And up to this point, prices only retrace from Coinbase listings. This isn't 2017 where just John McAfee talking about a coin makes it pump 300%. Times have changed a little bit, but I do believe that we are getting close to that next cycle where this, to me, just looks like disbelief. This is a very obvious sign of disbelief. I mean, we had the cycle high, we A, B, C corrected back down from those lows, we make our first impulse, which is honestly just your perfect version of disbelief. This is where nobody really thinks that the next rally is going to take place. Everybody's scared out, nobody wants to touch the market. They saw this big long correction. They know the investors who bought the top are wrecked, considering from the peak high values to the low, it dropped about 90, almost 97% down to those lows. So this is one that actually had a significant sell-off compared to the rest of the market. And so it makes more sense to me, while most people would be scared out of even wanting to buy this. But me personally, I'm buying in this time because this looks like one of the better buy opportunities that you're gonna have. Now, kind of the way it's looking for me anyways, is this was the one wave. So is the one, we might come back down a little bit lower, and then we're going to have the three wave. And my guess is the three wave is probably going to take us back up to this resistance level before we have another 5 wave up. Who knows exactly how high it's going to look or what the Elliott waves are going to look like in general. But what I can say is that my next target's going to be probably about right here. Roughly $6, $5 to $6, maybe even down here. $5 exactly. Somewhere in this range, I think, is your best bet for the next target for this coming cycle high. And so that's kind of what I'm going to be watching out for. This is the place in which I'd look to take profits after the next leg up. And so I am expecting a pretty sizable bounce coming inside of Tezos. Now, as of where we're at right now, not financial advice, not telling you to buy anything in this time, just showing you guys, as of right now, it's about a 440% increase to $5 and about 530% to $5.86. And so this is one of those altcoins that I think is going to produce a pretty significant rally in the next leg up of cryptocurrency. And so this is one that you don't really require a ton of risk, but you can make a lot of reward back. Now, with this coin being one that had a pretty sizable ICO, that tells me that there's demand and people looking and actively investing into this project. Even though that happened in 2017 and we saw a lot of different companies have major ICOs, only to see them fail completely and miserably inside of the bear market. I like the idea of Tezos. This is another one of those coins, similar to how I always talk about Darrow. I always get these whims about coins at certain times. I get really excited about them. I find that they have a very solid fundamental case. Now, even though I'm not a fundamental analyst, I have been around in cryptocurrency long enough that I can honestly spot healthy market cycles. Because at the end of the day, guys, My trading strategy revolves 100% around technical analysis. Now, when I find a chart that looks really nice, and I find a chart that has similarities to price from back in the early days of like following Ethereum, XMR, and some of those bigger coins that really exploded for like 1000x, whenever it comes to me finding coins, I'm always looking at the market structure first because I do trade technical analysis. With that being said, after I do find a coin that I like, if I ever find a coin that has really good market structure, sometimes I'll go and look in and find reviews about this project. I'll learn a little bit about it. And so with Tezos, I liked the way it looked. I know a lot of people were talking about it on Twitter, didn't quite understand what it was. And after looking at the chart and then diving in and actually checking out reviews that people have amongst the Tezos community, I came to the conclusion that I honestly believe that this is a very solid project for the long term. Now, when I say long term, I don't necessarily mean 5 to 10 years from now, even though I'm sure that that could very easily happen. What I want to point out is the fact that I'm mainly thinking long term in my eyes as 1 to 2 years from now. I'm mainly only looking at the volatility of Bitcoin because we're going to have a very impulsive, euphoric Bitcoin cycle coming up. It's going to drag alts along with it on the way back up. And so with that being said, it's really important that you learn to maximize and invest in these projects while they're at these really low stages when nobody's talking about them, because the next stages are where we start to see really euphoric, hyped market cycles, where if you're not getting in when it's low and nobody wants it, you're going to be FOMOing in at managing your risk reward in a terrible, terrible way, because things really start to fly in cryptocurrency, especially in altcoins. I mean, if Bitcoin's disbelief phase from 3,200 to nearly 14K wasn't proof enough, I don't know what will, because these altcoins are going to pop even harder than Bitcoin did, most likely. And that's kind of what I'm going to be watching out for with Tezos. I got the same feeling about Tezos as I got with Bitcoin back in 2016 when I bought it for about $450. I got that same feeling with EOS when I bought it at 60 cents and rolled out that 30x. And I'm getting the same feelings about Darrow. So it's really these three coins that I've had really good feelings about, and I've actually made a significant amount of money on all of them except for Tezos. Tezos is that next coin that I have a good feeling about. I really do believe that this one's going to perform well amongst the rest of the cryptocurrency market, and so that's why I'm investing in this time. I have been investing over the last couple weeks. I was going to give you guys this update a couple weeks back, but I just been really busy and got caught up with a few different things, so I didn't get around to it. But now here you guys are with this Tezos video. If you're somebody that knows a little bit more about Tezos and wants to share some insightful information, whether it's documents, articles, whatever it might be, feel free to drop those inside of my Discord server. You can message me private, or you can just post them amongst the group. It's whatever. I'm always looking to further my own education on projects. So if you're somebody that knows a little bit something about this that feels like that you would like to share it with me, feel free to do so inside of the community. I'm sure that a lot of other members inside there would love the value that that provides in really anything. If you're somebody that's watching this and you want signals, or you want to just follow my own analysis, make sure you click the invitation link in the description of this video, and there you're going to get access to my Discord server. Like I said at the start, I'm trying to get to 200 members. We're very close to that goal, so thank you guys so much for the support. It really does mean a lot to me. But anyways, guys, this is the video I had for you. I hope you found some value in this. I wanted to quickly touch up on the idea of Tezos, kind of how it works, and then go through and give you guys some real technical analysis to work with, so that you guys know from a fundamental perspective, briefly, because I didn't go into a ton of detail, you guys briefly know the fundamental perspective, you guys now know my technical analysis perspective, and so in my opinion that gives you guys a pretty solid understanding of kind of what's to be expected inside of this market. Overall, good things are looking up and up every single day for the cryptocurrency market, and I'm very happy to have you guys a part of this. So with all that being said, I will catch you in the next video. As always, peace out.